Olá, voltamos com a sequência do tema Tecnologia de Rádio Digital DRM e o seu status de mercado. Neste episódio, principais recursos da tecnologia.
Welcome to Digital Radio Mondiale, Smart Radio for All, Session 2. So let's look in more detail at this ITU XE recommended standard. What are we going to look at in particular? And it's still me, Ruxandra Obreja, the chair of the DRM Consortium, opening this session. We are going to look in more detail at the key features of DRM. We said DRM, Digital Radio Mondiale, offers more choice for listeners, up to 3 programs and 1 data channel. Excellent audio quality, which we are going to demonstrate, multimedia applications linking us to the IP world, very good coverage area and robust signal, automatic tuning, forget about frequencies and remember the name of your favorite station, and emergency warning and alerts, so important nowadays in the world. Well, I'm only going to take you to the first one, which is more choice for listeners. So up to 3 programs and multimedia on 1 single frequency. That is 1 frequency for AM, 1 frequency for FM. And you can do that transitioning gently, so to speak, from analog to digital by even using a simulcast option. We hope as short as possible, so you become digital as soon as possible. I think it is important to remember what is the difference between analog and digital, and this diagram explains it. When you have 3 programs on the left and data, they get into the content server, which is a new digital element. Think of it as our kitchen, where we put everything together, all the ingredients, and then we distribute to 1 or several transmitters, because we can use single frequency network in digital, unlike analog, all transmitters being on the same frequency. So you get more programs, less energy, distributed to more transmitters with a saving of spectrum. So that's the transmission system of DRM. And now let's go through the other features with my colleague Alexander Zink, the vice chair of the DRM Consortium and senior business development manager Fraunhofer IIS Germany.
Thank you, Ruxandra. So let's have a look at the next key feature, excellent audio. That's a bold statement. What does it mean in practice? Well, first of all, what you will notice is with digital reception and transmission technology, as long as you are in the coverage area of your transmitter, you have perfect audio without distortions and fading as you probably were used to in the analog AM world in particular. It can provide stereo and even up to 5.1 surround sound on the frequencies, the local services, and stereo programs, even on shortwave and medium wave transmissions. Let's have a look at the sound quality, the difference between analog and digital. First of all, there's an example of a recording taken from Sines or transmitted from Sines, Portugal, all the way across Europe to Kotka in Finland. This shortwave transmission was recorded first in analog, and then the transmitter was switched over to digital. And under the same conditions, same transmitter, same receiver location, we have the digital recording. Let's listen to analog first. I guess you will agree with me that this is a decent shortwave transmission. By switching to digital, this is what you get over the same distance. And another quick example is on medium wave from the UK to Germany, where there was an interfering station on the same frequency from Spain probably. And an analog receiver has no way of dealing with the 2 signals being received. Both of them are presented to the listener and destroying each other, or at least interfering with each other. This is the analog version. And then switching our main program to digital, while the interfering station is still on air, it sounds like this.
If I could, but nothing's that easy.
So as you can see, for DRM, that other station is just another noise level that is completely eliminated in the process of receiving the digital signal. And DRM is the first digital radio standard to have adopted the latest MPEG audio codec called XHE-AAC. That means that we can get excellent audio quality at much lower bit rates than before. That helps us to have unrestricted audio content. You don't need to distinguish as a broadcaster between speech content and music content. It handles both equally well. To get more services on a single transmission. As an example, All India Radio now is demonstrating 3 audio services on an existing medium wave transmitter in DRM. And it aligns with the latest technologies on mobile phones, where XHE is now natively supported in all Android and iOS phones and most PC systems. So much about the audio quality. Now, I mentioned that there's more in DRM than just audio, multimedia applications. That's a great listener benefit and a great opportunity for broadcasters. The standardized data applications and multimedia components are text messages. That's the small scrolling text you see on the screen of your radio that gives you typically the currently playing song title and artist. Then you have slideshow as the image version of the same service, an updating image. That's mostly relevant for local services where we have more capacity, less so for the AM bands. The EPG and SPI, service program information, allows us to transmit things like the service logos. So your station in the list of services in the receiver has its proper logo presented and not just a label. And there's the option of traffic using the TPAG and TMC standards, traffic and travel information, again, mostly for local services. One aspect I didn't mention yet is Journaline. That's an advanced text application similar to an electronic newspaper or an electronic magazine, where on the receiver I can navigate through topics of interest provided by my broadcaster and then read them at my leisure. So they are interactive and they are cached in the receiver, these informations, to be available at any time. Let's have a quick look at how that works. The Journaline is based on a menu structure. The menu offerings and topics are completely up to the broadcaster. And then I have different types of pages that can be presented, news articles, tables for financial information and weather information and so on. It is designed for particularly low bitrate requirements, so it doesn't take away audio quality even on a shortwave transmission. You can always add a Journaline component. On the broadcast side, it reuses existing data sources, the content management system of the broadcaster or RSS feeds, so it plugs in directly, no extra editorial effort. And it is designed, like all text information on DRM, for Unicode use, so it supports all the scripts and languages in the world, if supported in the receiver. Specific attention was given in the standardization of Journaline to be widely compatible with consumer receivers of all types, from the lowest cost receiver with a few line text display to the high-end receivers with graphics display to in-car receivers with text-to-speech output. All of that is supported. It also supports backchannel to the broadcaster. That makes it attractive for interactive services where you as a broadcaster can get in touch with your listeners directly. It supports geotagging of information and speech hinting. It effectively brings information that formerly was only available on your website as a broadcaster. It brings that to the radio set and makes it available for the listener right there at the radio set, no internet required. Typical types of information can be general information, news, sports, financial updates, airport departure times or games, and program-related information like station background, contact information, a direct phone link. If you want to call into the current talk show, you don't have to memorize the phone number anymore. song info and purchase options, caption of radio, and so on. Plenty of options that broadcasters can enable using this journal-line service. When it comes to commercial benefits for broadcasters, this is one of the key elements how digital radio can create new revenue opportunities. Since journal-line is designed to work on all types of receivers, it can handle sponsored information, specific service information that is created in cooperation with some industrial partner, or dedicated ad pages. It could even be referenced from the on-air ad announcement, where the listener can find more details than in the associated journal-line page. If you think about ad placement, through the menu structure of journal-line, if I, as a listener, first select my preferred language, then my region I'm interested in, and then the topics I'm interested in, the type of sport or the weather forecast, whatever it is. At that point, I have pretty much specified my interest. And if you as a broadcaster place ads on these pages, they are much more valuable because they're much more targeted. So even though journal-line uses the broadcast medium, the same that your audio announcement does, the potential for ad placement and very targeted ad placement is a great opportunity to be explored. The next key feature, good coverage. We already mentioned there is the option of single frequency networking. What does it mean? It means that DRM allows you as a broadcaster to broadcast the same content at the same time on the same frequency, even if you have overlapping coverage areas from the different transmitters. So instead of destroying the signal at these points, it will actually improve the signal quality and availability. The listeners benefit from better reception throughout the whole area and no distortions, no need for retuning. The broadcaster benefit from cost savings and better coverage. You can take your transmitter sites further apart if you want to. And it allows for a new approach where you can place small gap fillers in underserved areas. They can operate on the same frequency with the same content. You don't need to apply for new frequencies to serve those areas. Automatic tuning, another key feature from a listener's perspective. You don't need to memorize station names any longer. You get the list of available services after an automatic band scan, and you select the service. And then it is the receiver's task to keep that service tuned, even if that means switching frequencies or switching between radio standards. And finally, a crucial element of DRM, digital radio, is emergency warning functionality. What does it mean? How does it help? Let's have a look at that. If you look at a typical disaster situation, there is the time for general preparation and education of the audience. What do you do in case of a tsunami or an earthquake? Then once a disaster is detected, you need to get that information out as quickly as possible to the listeners. And this is where radio, and digital radio in particular, plays a crucial role. The disaster hits, and then after that, you have the crisis and rescue support, the immediate actions where radio can play a role, and the post-disaster services, bringing families together, organizing food, and maybe remote education, all these elements. And digital radio can help in all these situations. The way it works is called emergency warning functionality. In this case, as you can see on the left side, there is an affected area, the yellow part with the red transmitters, which may be out of service, but thanks to the radio coverage, even in the AM bands, we can serve these areas likely from outside. So there's always a way to reach people, even in remote places or in places where the local infrastructure is no longer available due to the disaster. Once the alarm is signaled over all the DRM transmissions, the receivers are told to wake up, or if you're already listening to a service, to switch over to the emergency program. And that emergency program, typically broadcast by a public broadcaster, then combines audio announcements, typically only the headline information in the local language, with journal-line advanced text information. How does that help, and why is journal-line such a crucial component, again, of emergency warning functionality? Well, it helps us to provide very detailed information. Imagine you have a tsunami rolling in along the shore and the coast, and you need to provide people with the locations and descriptions of shelters. That's something you could never announce over the air. Having it in journaline for access on the receiver on demand is no problem. It serves the non-native speakers and travelers, tourists that come to your place, because the text information is provided in multiple languages simultaneously. And finally, it supports and reaches the hearing impaired that otherwise would not be warned. So radio, digital radio, becomes a truly universal means of warning the audiences. As a broadcaster, the typical protocol that is used to disseminate this kind of information is called CAP, the Common Alerting Protocol. And the DRM head-end systems, the content servers, have the appropriate interfaces to tightly integrate with the existing CAP-based infrastructure on the transmission side. Let's have a quick look how that looks like on a receiver prototype. On the left side, you will see a receiver that is currently initially switched off in standby. The right one is playing a service. Once the alarm hits, the right one will switch over to the emergency program and present the associated journal line for immediate access by the user. Whereas the other one, after some time, will switch on automatically, wake up and give the warning. Imagine you are laying in bed at night and the radio next door comes up, goes to full volume and wakes you up and gives you that crucial warning. That's the use case. Let's have a look.
You are pleased that we are leaving?
Yes, I feel that I'm really getting...
This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. If this had been an actual emergency, you would have been instructed where to tune in your area for news and official information. This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system. This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is only a test. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. If this had been an actual...
I think you get the idea. This is how you operate the receiver and how you can access the information. If you want to learn more about emergency warning functionality and all the DRM features that we discussed in the session, please download the DRM Handbook, which is now available in a new version 5. It's a free download from handbook.drm.radio as a PDF file. And it will answer most of your questions. If it doesn't answer a specific question, feel free to contact us. drm.org is the homepage. Subscribe to the newsletter, a very valuable source of information and updates, and write to the project office in case of any further questions. Thanks a lot.
Essa apresentação continua no próximo episódio.